just have to get through a few formalities. I just want to welcome everybody here today. And I would like to thank Bianca Dragicevic and Jesse Clark, our staff members, that have given up a Saturday morning to come and help us get through this meeting. So thank you very much to those, and thank you to council, and thank you to everyone that's attended. So we'll be getting to you shortly. Okay, we can move on to item 1.2 of our agenda, which is land acknowledgement and moment of reflection. We respectfully acknowledge that Trent Lakes and Peterborough County are located in the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nation, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. Trent Lakes respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. We will now take a moment to reflect on these principles and our duties and responsibilities as members of council. Thank you, everyone, for that respectful silence. Okay, we can move on to item 2 of our agenda, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest. I will remind council, if you have a pecuniary interest of something on this agenda, please disclose it now or anytime during the meeting prior to discussing anything you have a pecuniary interest in. We can move on now to delegations. So each person will get 5 minutes to have their delegation. Please come to the X. I will call put your hand up and I'll pick a person and we'll get through everyone today. We all stick to the 5-minute rule. The 5 minutes will be on the clock, so you can pay attention. If you get close to your 5-minute end, we can try to sum yourself up and we will help you get that done. And at the end, if there is more time, we can have another little conversation if we have time. Okay, would anyone like to speak to council? Please come to that little X on the floor so our owl can pick you up. There's a little X there behind you. 2 steps back.
There we go. Well, good morning. I'm Susan Bryce, and this is my husband Julius Szymanski, and we're from Fire Route 46 in Lakehurst on Sandy Lake. I wanted to address 2 issues. One is the issue of fire routes for those of us who own them. And in fact, our liability insurance for our fire route is more than our house insurance per year. And if we do not have liability on those fire routes, we cannot get house insurance. And so it's a big, liability and the cost factor of maintaining as well as having the insurance. So that is the one issue that I'd like to draw to your attention, that there's a lot of us who own them and the expense is tremendous.
Yeah, go ahead. This is a casual conversation, so we'll be able to talk back and forth.
Okay.
Do you have your insurance through FOCA, through CADE insurance by any chance?
No.
Okay, you might want to look into that.
CADE, C-A-D-E.
C-A-D-E, but if you go through FOCA, the Federation of Ontario Cottage Associations, they have an agreement with CADE, and they have, I think, at least 220 road associations that get insurance through them. So you might find.
Okay, so they're a broker.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you. And the other is the cost of the property taxes. Ours have been going up for the last 2 years. In 2024, it's 5.67%. This year it's 5%. And we're closing in on $12,000 a year for property taxes. So we're just saying, you know what, we're retired. And that's a lot of expense when you're considering $1,000 a month for insurance or for property taxes.
Yes.
Plus the liability insurance on fire routes. So, and although we have 475 feet of shoreline, we only have about 75 feet of useful shoreline. The rest is wetlands.
Yeah.
And so anyway, those are the concerns that we have, that the property taxes are actually going up more than the cost of inflation. And certainly in the last couple of years, closing in at 5% is more than inflation.
In our defense, Trent Lakes has been fairly fiscally responsible. This is a county-driven increase, both last 2 years, and we're looking at least 2.5% every year just for the infrastructure increase at the county level.
Right.
Because they're $192 million behind in infrastructure rebuilds. And I think that should be more of a provincial responsibility, but that's, we're trying to get that driven. It's a difficult thing to finance. But a bridge now costs $3 or $4 million to repair instead of $500,000 like it used to be.
There was a CBC did a recent documentary about what's happening at the municipal level. And, the infrastructure and social services are becoming so burdensome for municipalities. And so, as I say, I understand that portion there. I did see that the waste management now has gone from municipal up to the Peterborough County level. So that's something new.
It's new and it's provincially driven. There's a
Okay.
large company that looks after all waste management in Ontario now. And it's got some hiccups, but we're trying to work our way through it.
The other factor is that MPAC, which is the provincial body that assesses the value of real estate, properties, et cetera, has not done a reassessment since 2016. So they stopped doing it during COVID. They haven't resumed it. And so we're still being taxed at the 2016 level. Usually that will give us some additional revenues as in addition to having to raise taxes on everybody. So we're missing that piece. There's lots of pressure on them to restart that, but that's another factor.
Right. I do know that taxes and user fees are where you get your money, and it's not too much that's been downloaded from provincial or federal or municipalities. So
There are some infrastructure grants that are coming available through the province and probably, hopefully through the federal government, which will help lessen the burden on all our taxpayers for infrastructure repairs.
is there anything, I did notice that for the municipality is working with some of the fire routes, possibly the longer ones, to give some input or some funding for that.
I don't know that you say the province?
No, the
Yeah.
municipality.
Oh, yeah, there's some private
Yes,
road grants
yes.
to help you
Right,
maintain your road.
offset that.
Yeah.
But that's only for probably certain ones.
I think anyone can apply. It's
Okay.
just you have to meet certain criteria.
Right, okay. So, well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very kindly. Thanks for your comments. Okay, who would like to go next? Hey, go ahead.
I'm Gordon Irmsworth. I live on Fire Route 71C, down the bottom end of that township.
Yeah.
My concern is Anchor Bay Road from Gannisdale's up to the top of Chase's Hill. All those people that are parking on it, between people hiking the trails, and there's a parking lot there for them. And the people parking at the bottom on both sides, it's down to such a narrow lane most days this time of year. It's dangerous, and the people are throwing their garbage all over the place. And if we go clean it up, then your employees at the dump will want to stamp my card, so something has to be done. And they're using the culvert that was put in underneath the Lakehurst Road when Lakehurst Road was straightened out back in the 80s for Chase's State the cattle through. They're using that big culvert for a bathroom. So when it rains, all that goes out into the lake. The township council and the township are concerned about Sandy Lake and this, that, the other thing, but they do nothing for the bottom end of the township, the entrance of the township.
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a no parking zone down near the bottom of that now.
No.
No?
That's on Lakehurst Road.
Yeah, the county.
The county, but not on, like Selwyn Township made half the Gansdale's Causeway no fishing and all of Shamon Causeway no fishing. I don't want to see that, but maybe we can put a parking lot in for them and maintain outhouses and garbage bins there for them to park on to get off the road, because the people that use the mailboxes down the bottom of the hill, half the time they can't get at them.
I drove up that road a few times and it has been very busy.
Yeah, and now there's a transport truck parking pretty much every weekend on that road. Like, what's the bylaw for parking on township roads?
Yeah, we'll have to look at the bylaw. I'm not sure what the bylaw says for overnight parking of a bigger.
Well,
I don't even know if that's covered in our bylaw.
Yeah,
we'll look at that. Yeah. If you share your contact information, we would, after, we can get a hold of you. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. I thought it was getting a little better over there. Okay, who would like to go next? Go ahead, please step on that little green square. That'll activate all the electronics, right?
Good morning. My name is Doug Willem and I represent Twin Mountain Snowmobile Club. We're in real trouble this year because of the ice storm and all our trails got trees laying all over the place. We've already spent $7,000 on excavator time and thousands and thousands of volunteer hours just out there with chainsaws and clearing the trails. And we spent pretty well all our money that we have in reserve, and we need help. We need financial help. We need even machine time help or culverts. We have one washout, which is caused from the trees falling down and stuff like that. That's going to cost us upwards. We've had estimates of like $10,000 for one of our main trails, right? And the snowmobilers bring in a lot of money into the local economy. We know that, just like the quadders do too, sort of thing, right? So any kind of help that you can give us right now, because we're just about broke, and so is the Federation of Snowmobile Clubs, right, because of this.
Yeah, this has been devastating on our small trees in the forest. Yeah, so, yeah. Go ahead.
Thanks for that. I would suggest you write a letter to council requesting financial support and any in-kind support for your club. We recently approved some monies to support the Buckhorn District Snowmobile Club for the exact same situation that they're in. So if you write us a formal letter, then it comes before council. We do have a bit of money, I think, left in our community grant reserve, which is the money we used to help local not-profit associations. So we get to see what's remaining and whether, you know, that's what's.
So our club president didn't send a letter to you
I think
people
it was
already?
on one of our councils, one of our
Buckhorn District
agendas.
was.
He said he talked to somebody.
I think our,
And you represent what snowmobile club, sorry?
Twin Mountain Snowmobile Club.
well, we'll make sure that that does get on our agenda. If it isn't, I think it was put on one of our agendas.
Supposed to be.
Yeah,
It was, yeah.
If you could send us a formal letter, then it could be considered. at
so who
council.
should I send that to? Do I have a?
Jesse Clark, our clerks department, and, or just clerks, I think it's just clerks, isn't it? Yeah, just clerks at Trent Lakes. And
Okay,
then we'll get it on an agenda, and then we can all have a discussion about it and see what we can do.
all right.
If you try to walk down one of those trails even, there is a lot of trees because that open part of the canopy, everything fell into it.
Yeah, anywhere that it was sort of opened up a little bit, right? You know, that's where the trees really came down. If it's dense forest, they couldn't really come down, right? But we were getting an average of 1.5 kilometers a day with an excavator. That's how slow it was and how tangled.
Yeah.
And everything like that.
Your club, your trail system, how many municipalities does it involve? How many?
We're 90% in Trent Lakes, and we're just a little bit into city of Kawartha Lakes over by the park there. We come out of the park there. Right, but mostly all in Trent Lakes.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Okay, who would like to talk next? Go ahead. Yeah, a little.
Yeah, good morning. If we're talking winter stuff, my name is Marcus Byrne. I have a cottage on Bass Lake. And concern at Bass Lake for everyone is the lack of winter maintenance from Watson's Bridge to Bass Lake Beach Landing. So, you know, mainly the concern is that throughout the winter, anytime through the years, that we have safe access by emergency vehicles if that's required. So I'm asking if what's the next step in trying to have all of Bass Lake Road maintained throughout the winter. It's maintained well to Watson's Bridge, but then we, as residents, pay somebody, like he's a landowner too, and at Bass Lake, take care of, you know, that road, and that's a risk too, that, you know, that maybe we don't want to be doing. So my question is when and how could we start to get that road completed right to, for the safety of all the residents there.
Well, we'll bring that up with our director of roads again and
Yeah, I did,
think we did
I've
that once
emailed with
before.
Evan a few
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
And last time was November last year. And so he says, you have to bring it to council, I guess is what it is. And right now, there's no plan to do that. But, I think it's important that we do that. The trucks are already going down Bass Lake Road. I mean, like, I've been in Bass Lake since 1980. And I know that when it was Harvey Township, they were plowing the road turning around because then it was Galway, Cavendish, where we were,
Yeah.
our location is. And so, I mean, I guess they didn't want to bring their trucks from wherever Kinmount or wherever it was. That's what I believe, but now it's all amalgamated. Why we are not going right to Bass Lake landing is,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing that up again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just come to the action. You have 5 minutes.
Morning. My name is Catherine Rennie and I live back at Bass Lake.
Yes.
And I also would like that road plowed too, the rest of the way, because I have 2 grandchildren that live with me now. They needed a home and I'm trying to get them out to the school bus. So it's really important to have that road safe for me to drive on every day, several times a day. Also wanted to say that the state of emergency, it seemed like we were like the last. Trent Lakes was the last people to declare a state of emergency to get extra trucks in here. Was that true?
I don't know that we were the last, and some of the, I don't
Court,
even,
this seemed
some
to go
didn't even do it. Yeah.
Peterborough.
And the county did as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really advantage us that way as you think it does until later on in the whole situation.
To get the trucks in here, the
Yeah.
hydro trucks?
Yeah, no, that's, they do their thing when they want, where they want. They concentrate on getting the most lights on in the more urban areas first. So no matter when we declared a state of emergency, we weren't getting any hydro trucks any sooner.
So you don't, okay.
Yeah,
you don't-
and it's, yeah, we don't get any more funding. It doesn't, it changes some of the rules, but the funding that we'll get back from the provincial government, hopefully it's more than what they would normally give, because we've been led to believe that we don't have to hit a 3% of our budget threshold to qualify for funding, that we qualify immediately. So anything we spend beyond our normal operations for the emergency, we will get a percentage of that back. So let's hope we can do that.
I was out for 12 days,
Yeah.
no hydro,
Yeah.
3 days to cut out. And that was with the help of Marcus's tractor. We wouldn't have got out any sooner
I
than
think
that.
it's one of the most devastating ice
Yeah.
storms I have ever seen in my life.
On a positive note though, the Works Department has done a really good job on the road. They're still maintaining it very well.
Good.
And they got rid of the brush. There were washouts on Bass Lake Road too. But still the plowing, I really need the plowing to get my children to the bus. So I have called the Works and told them they've done a good job because they need to hear that.
And that's
Yeah.
very important. Just
Yeah.
let us know the good things, because there is lots of good things happening in Trent Lakes, and let's focus on them as well. So thank you
Right.
very much.
You could put that on your agenda.
We will bring that up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, did you have a comment, Councilor Graybeck? I thought-
No, I was just gonna make a comment as far as how long it took to declare the state of emergency. I was interacting with our public works and they were, and our fire service, so we're going around, they had to assess first, so they spent a couple of days, a few days assessing it, the damage and the extent to make that determination whether a state of emergency would be invoked by the.
Yeah, how long did it take? How many
Just a
days?
couple days before we declared it. It was only a couple days. We thought about doing it the day before, but we have a very specific criteria that we have to meet, and at that point, we didn't meet it. And then once the county declared, then we could declare easily, and it just follows in the right steps.
But it has nothing to do with bringing the trucks in.
No, absolutely nothing. It's more of a formality than anything, and we knew it was an emergency, but we didn't know how widespread it was until we had some boots on the ground. And then when we did that, it was very obvious that we had state of emergency. Okay, anyone else like to speak? That's it, it's over, we're done. No, just George, come on. Oh, Jesse, did you have a comment?
Just want to remind you that people online, and if you can even remind them that they can use the raise hand feature.
Okay.
After this, we can go.
Okay, perfect. We can take a few online.
Well, I was waiting for the others, Mr. Mayor and councilors. I'm here not representing myself, but the North Pigeon Lake Association. you know what our mandate is. It's all the waters that flow into North Pigeon Lake and the catchment area, and it involves people and the governance. And basically three short messages from our board. We had a meeting just prior to this in order to bring up. First of all, we want to congratulate you on setting up the Environmental Advisory Committee, re-establishing it. We had it for many years. And it seems to me what you've heard about the ice storm, I think we can all agree that what's happening right now on the prairies, that poor mayor down in Kerr County in Texas right now, having to get up every night on the nightly news, all the mayors and municipalities in Lytton, BC, Merritt, BC, Flin Flon, all across the country, dealing with fires. In Abbotsford, it's floods. In Toronto, it was floods. These are historic times that we're living in. And it's all got to do with climate change. So the setting up of that Environmental Advisory Committee, I think, is paramount. It's got a huge job to do. And I've sat through some of the meetings, and I can see the numbers of issues that they've got on their plate, and it's daunting. But it seems to me that citizens of Trent Lakes, they got to get on board as well. In the education, we've got to do more on the question of the environment, because we don't know what's going to happen. We had the ice storm, we've had floods, and we don't know about forest fires yet. That jet stream that's floating around that's caused by too much carbon in the atmosphere. We know that we can't predict how it's going to go, but it's certainly going to affect everybody. When I moved here 40 years ago, I thought it was Sleepy Hollow. I was going to be able to just have a nice quality of life, but now everything is changing. And the second thing is the question of having these kind of meetings. I think even once a year, I'm instructed to tell you, we congratulate you for holding this. The communication has gotten visibly better with this council than it's been in the past. We're getting notices, we're getting bulletins, and we have discussions on budget. And I think we need to have more discussions on the budget. You're trying to get by on limited resources when the senior levels of government have all the taxation powers. They're downloading all the stuff onto the local population, and your tax thing, 13,000, that's obscene. I mean, in this area, and we've got so much to do, and there's all kinds of things. We got roads to build, and snow plowing to do, and we've got to be prepared, because I think a big one is coming, and I don't want to see our mayor, Mr. Terry Lambshead, on the CBC trying to explain and weeping because of he's got to go on and explain what's happening at Trent Lakes.
Nor does he.
And I'm sure you didn't sign up for this stuff. Nobody did. And that mayor down in Kerr, Texas didn't sign up for it either. The other thing though, I want to raise an issue, because I know it's been an issue here, and that's the way the provincial and federal government, we have two bills right now, Bill 5 and Bill C5. Bill 5 is the provincial, Bill C5 is federal. And both of them are talking about doing something that has never happened before since 1837. It's called the Henry VIII type legislation. That's where the king and a few of his coteries, people around him, and people select group can plan a project, and they don't have to bring it back to Parliament. And they can override all the legislation, all of the regulations, all of the laws, and there's no debate. None of this came up in the provincial election. None of this came up in the federal election. And now we're being saddled with a piece of legislation that is very dangerous to democracy. And I'm really happy to report the city of Kawartha next door to us, over in Kawartha Lakes, passed a resolution 9-0 to oppose Bill 5. And I think we should be thinking about, it's too late. They passed it. They just rammed it through with very minimal debate before we get wised up as to what's actually in it. It's very undemocratic. I understand you're having some discussions. It's not too late. What we got to do is get that bill repealed. We should be repealing Bill C5 as well, because those bills, having a small group of people meeting and not bringing it back to the legislature or the Parliament of Canada to talk about, this is not democracy. This is the slippery road to authoritarianism. It's supposed to be to oppose Donald Trump, but we're starting to act like Donald Trump. That's exactly what's happening. The craziness that's going on in the States. upending the economics. And that brings us back to the final point of this council, why we have to have more meetings like this. We have to have more meetings because the citizens of Trent Lakes and the council, the leadership of Trent Lakes have to be as one. We're dealing with these big problems. And I'm happy that you guys are sitting where you are, and I can sound off here where I am, because you've got a big task ahead of you. This new budget that's going to come down federally, you think you're going to get more money? I got news for you. So does the parliamentary budget officer. They're going to cut $25 billion off our federal budget. That's going to come off mass layoffs. That's going to come transfer payments to the province. The province is going to pass that down to you, dump more stuff onto the local taxpayers. They have all the revenue they can get. We have a GDP right now of $3 trillion. We're just getting back after the 2006.
Okay, George, to sum it up, we're getting.
Okay, well, I'm summed up. I think you know what I'm getting at. We want you to, those three things, congratulations for doing it, the job that you're doing, but you better fasten your seatbelts because it's going to get a little more tricky for all of us. And we better get on board.
Okay. Thank you, George. Thank you.
We all better vote for it. Yeah, thank you, Robinson. George, just for your information, this council did pass a motion opposing Bill 5. Indeed, it was after it has been put in place. However, you're right, it was a very accelerated time frame from introduction to passage. So in fact, we did pass a motion asking for the repeal of Bill 5, acknowledging some of the other legislation that it overrode, as well as the fact that it has limited it purports to limit the consultation with our Indigenous. So we have done that. We have taken that step.
So that's only Bill 5, not C5.
That's correct.
Okay. No. Okay.
And C5 is a little different than B5, by the way.
There are
some differences.
Well, it would be interesting to know the difference.
You can read about it.
Yeah, that's what
It's been analyzed.
starting to read it as well. Okay, who would like to go next? I think we're going to do an online one next. Jesse, would you please connect us?
We'll unmute Mark.
Well, let's see if we can hear.
She might not be able to hear me from back there.
Okay, Marlis, can you hear us? Marlis, can you unmute yourself? I feel like I'm talking to the air.
I can unmute myself. Did I do it?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. You have 5 minutes to talk to the air.
All right, 2 comments. Number 1, I agree entirely with the previous speaker's comments about Bill 5 and Bill C5. And secondly, recently, or I should say 2 to 3 years ago, you had consultants in for a trail development plan, and one was developed. I wondering where trail development is in the township.
Okay, I think we just had a little update on that, but I don't remember all the details. We'll have to get a hold of our director of Parks and Recreation or Recreation Facilities and have a conversation, and we can get some information to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
And what else would you have? You have 4 minutes and 12 seconds still, Marla.
Oh, that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And we might as well do one, that one so swiftly, we might as well do one more online. Do we have another one online, Justin?
Brenda Wall.
Brenda Wall, okay. Brenda, are you there? Brenda, would you please unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Yes, I now can unmute myself. Before I couldn't. Brenda
Okay.
Wall, and I have a cottage on Bass Lake. I have been here for 30 years. I spend from April to November on Bass Lake. And yes, I think the township has done a wonderful job in improvements of Bass Lake Road over those 30 years. But I support the previous speakers on the question of plowing the whole of Bass Lake Road. And we understand that even some fire routes are plowed, so why not Bass Lake Road, which is a level 4 road or whatever, I'm not sure the number. But we had a meeting of the Bass Lake Association of Homeowners last weekend, and the majority of homeowners on Bass Lake, and there's about 45 cottages, were there. And, you know, we all said we would sign something, or we would agree to the people such as Doug and Kathy, who have raised the issue of Bass Lake Road being plowed throughout. So, you know, there are a lot of people who would like to access in the winter and not have to pay privately, as we talked about insurance and liability and so on, all these problems. So please consider this a very important request for us, because it is a major road that goes right down to the lake, and people, you know, would access it more. There are people who live on the lake full time now. It's a different situation from when I first arrived 30 years ago. So I would ask you to consider the requests that have already been put forward by all of the Bass Lake homeowners. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. Greatly appreciated. We will pass that along. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just follow up, and I assume that there will be something written coming forward to council from your association about that issue and your request.
Yes, we will be writing something to you.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Councilor Baber, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just to reiterate, and George, I share your sentiment on having more open forum meetings such as this, but it doesn't preclude anybody from emailing us or calling us. Like if, especially the associations as well, if they're having meetings, feel free to call. I'll speak for myself. Feel free to reach out to me if you want me to attend any of the meetings. And it's more of a one-on-one, and we can have more of a sidebar and a more in-depth conversation about issues as opposed to 5 minutes and that sort of thing. So I'm accessible for anything, whether it's a hard topic or an easy topic. Quite happy to make myself available. So.
Is this something, this C5, is this something that we should all be signing a petition? Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to have a conversation, you got to go to that stand, but when we get your turn, you can go to that X and talk to us for 5 minutes. But, or send us an email, shoot us a message. Like that's what we're here for. Okay, who is next? Is there another one online?
Yeah, we're gonna try to get Christine Brickman on.
Okay, perfect. Christine, are you ready to unmute? Christine, are you there? Well, is she unmuted, do you think? Yes. No? Christine, can you unmute yourself? Technology is wonderful when it works. Guilty.
We can circle back to her.
Okay. Is there anyone else online today?
Let's get her online right now.
Okay, so we can go back into the physical gallery, and would anyone like to speak? Okay. Please come to the
Go
exit.
ahead.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Caroline McGee, and I have a house on Galway Road. So I reviewed your asset management plan, and I have a couple follow-up questions.
Sure.
Do you have a master financial plan? And have you looked at the cost benefit of your assets versus replace or upgrade? And the new roads department on 49, was it built on time and on budget?
I think we can speak to that. It was built on time, and I believe it was on budget or slightly under. So,
Okay.
yeah, it was. We had a very delicate winter that time, so it was quite fortunate they could build right through the winter without any real major delays. And our asset management, we have a very robust plan for replacement of every vehicle, every brake, shovel. It's part of the provincial guideline that we're supposed to have that. So we know end of life of everything we own at this point. So a master financial plan, I don't know that we actually have something like that. I mean, it's our yearly budget kind of dictates what we do.
I think we do have an estimate, a forecast of what it would cost over the next 10 years to do the replacement and upgrades, et cetera. But every single year, obviously, whatever is due for that year has to be approved in the current year budget. So
And your current year budget, is it posted online? Because I couldn't find it. I found a one pager that said, this is the budget, this is what we're going to do.
There,
Thought it
it
was?
will be on, it will be in one of the minutes of our meeting. That's a very long.
It's also in our quarterly reports.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll look for that.
The 3 or 4
If you can,
pages on the budget was in our quarterly
and
report.
if you can, please reach out to Rachel Stark, our communications officer. She will make sure she shares that with you. And anybody, please, if you have questions that you want just an answer to or a document on, we're here to share documents. This is what we do. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, and come on. You're good.
Morning,
Good morning.
Peter Raymond, Edwina Drive. Had some questions in regards to the building department and some things that are going on there. First of all, we've got the short-term rentals. I'm interested to know what the current number of rentals have been registered and has the building department made sure they're compliant. There's the ACUs that have recently come out, and that's additional workload for the building department. Septic inspections, another workload effort. And then I see that the chief building official is no longer available. We're looking for a new one. And over the years, we've trended to not sustain a chief building official for a very long time, unfortunately, for whatever reasons.
I think that's a provincial issue. I think there was
And I
47.
don't know if we don't pay enough or whatever, you know. Those are my questions.
Deputy Mayor.
I'll address 2 of them if I can, Peter. In terms of the short-term rental or mandatory registration program, last I heard there were about 70 who had registered with us. We think that we have about 300 in our township, although that number everywhere is dwindling. So it may be less than that now. And of those, and I don't recall the right number, but it was something like 10 or more septic issues that are being addressed. So in my mind, it's working to make sure that those properties are safe and healthy for the guests.
So out of the 70, 60 are compliant, but
There were some issues with a number of the others, and my 10 might be wrong, it might be 15, I'm not sure. But I think the point is there's a substantial number that were at issue that we are correcting through that process. And the only other thing I would add is that we had made the decision that for this year it would be voluntary in terms of registration.
right.
However, if there is a particular property that is a problem and a complaint is lodged against them, we will investigate the complaint and they will be required to register and they will pay a $1,000 fine. And they will also have to pay for the registration.
Another question I did have also was how many bylaw enforcement officers do we have? Is it just 1 or 2?
We have 1 full-time, but I think all of our building staff are capable of giving a ticket. And I think we're signing on some more people because of our AMPS program. So
I just wonder about all the workload
yeah.
and the expectations of contractors for doing work and stuff. The timeline gets extended if we don't have enough staff.
Yeah, that's true. We do have OSM is on board now to be helping look after building permit issues and stuff like that. So that the timeline is very specific with the building and planning codes, and we're going to try to meet them. So.
I just add to that. So I just want to go back to your questions. In terms of septic, 2 of our staff are now certified septic inspectors, and we are keeping up with that and doing septic inspections. I believe if you add up the numbers, we have 3 people on staff who can enforce bylaws.
Qualified.
Plus, as you well know, we are contracting with Magnum, can't remember. Thank you. I knew it started with an M. For after-hours bylaw enforcement. And at the end of the day, we had about 60 bylaw complaints to our staff and maybe 30 to tasks last year. So it's not an overwhelming number of bylaw complaints that are actually being brought forward to us. Even though we hear lots of complaints, we don't get that many people officially complaining.
The septic part of your building permit does go part and parcel with the application of a building permit.
Yeah.
So it's not 100% more work, it's just a bit more work. They still had to look at all the applications. That's a great point.
Just dealing with your bylaw comments. Our short-term rental committee, we had many meetings, and one of the meetings I was interested in was our bylaw efficiency. The issues with the short-term rental was mainly noise, trespassing, and just behavior. And what I found was lacking, and still is to a certain extent, is being timely. You can have a bylaw, you can have 10 bylaw officers. If you only have them Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, right? So we are in discussions as far as having a specific unit. You may have 1 or 2 full-time bylaw officers. There, you could look at having contract, summer students and that sort of thing who are sort of trained in that area.
I wasn't sure if in your budget, was it this year or next year, whether you add in additional to do that?
This year we did.
This
We
year.
added we had somebody part-time on bylaw enforcement and we hired them full-time.
Yeah, I was interested in, let's hire them and let's have it during the summer seasons, the high season, from Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah.
On call, ready to go at a location and geared up and organize it that way. So you're ready to respond in a timely manner. Because I mean, that's to our deputy mayor's points in previous meetings, is if people think that, it's a waste of time to call, because nobody's going to come out until Sunday when everybody's packed up and gone home. So it's not effective or efficient. So, I mean, we have to look at a model, that type of model, to actually address it. And I think if we did address it in a timely fashion, you would have an uptick in people identifying these problem short-term rentals, which majority of the time it's the monster cottages and the ones that really don't have a tie to the community. It's corporate run. They have management systems and that sort of thing. So that's a concern, and that's who we want to identify if they are the problem.
Just one other question. This goes back to the ice storm on the river, on the Municipality River. There's so much debris that bottom out my property and then the rest down the river. I've been trying to clear it, but it's going to take me years. And I don't know if the M&R or anybody else will be doing anything there, because
We have kind of reached out a little wee bit through myself to see if someone would take some responsibility there. As of yet, it's just a no, we don't touch that. No, we don't do that. No, that's not our responsibility. So we'll keep reaching and seeing if we can find something.
so I'm going to wait till the winter and do it myself.
Yeah.
Just one more, just to address your ARUs. We do have a meeting coming up regarding that, so it was deferred to another meeting. It's going to be a public meeting, I believe.
Tuesday.
On Tuesday. So.
Yeah, we'll try to ease up on the acronyms and tell them what they are, because there was a couple of people who didn't know what an ARU was.
Yeah.
Can you spell that, sorry?
It's an additional residential unit.
Perfect, thank you.
It's another part of your house you can live in.
Yeah.
Okay, I see another hand up. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Good morning.
I have a couple things. I'm Janet Klein. I'm from Bass Lake Road. First of all, council is very accessible. I tell everyone who has a problem to get in touch with you. I find whether we criticize or whether we're complimenting, you always respond. And I think this council is amazing for that. I wanted to tell you that. Thank you for opposing Bill 5. I really appreciated that, to tell the province how we felt about that, especially in the land between for where we live. The additional residential units, it would be nice if you would look at the additional, I think it's 20% of the 1,000 we're going to be on lakefront. When you put more people on the lakefront, it does stress the lakes, as we know, fishing, boating, general recreational use, swimming, kayaking, everything like that can affect fish. So I think it was 20% of the 1,000 that we had. Was that right? We're going to be, on the lakefront. So that would be something I would ask you maybe to relook at. The ice storm, I think you guys, it was amazing. I mean, I'm sure you had debriefs of what you would do again. The only confusing part I found is brush pickup. You know, you were picking up, but you weren't picking it up. And I know some people missed it because they didn't know that they could put it in the municipal road allowance and assume that it was being picked up. I know someone said, oh yeah, I heard. And I said, no, I get all the updates. There was nothing about picking it up, but people who put it in the road allowance, it did get picked up. So heaven help it happened another time, but maybe people could be informed that, because I know some people missed it and now they've got brush like on their property because they didn't get it out to the road allowance. Your transfer station staff are amazing. And I think you've been told that before. They're lovely people. I just think the job they do isn't easy. And I just use the one about Cajun, but they know us by name. I know just really personable people. They're great people. Your signs, I know a lot of you campaigned on bringing the municipalities together. I remember I did a delegation on signs and trying to change some of them from individual names to Trent Lakes, like the health unit. Some of the I know the library does that. I just didn't know where that was. If anything, I hadn't seen any changes on signage. Open house for the new depot. I know you guys talked
It's
about
coming.
that. Oh, is it
It's
coming?
coming,
Oh,
yeah.
good, because I
We have it
was hoping.
scheduled now.
Oh, good, because I
It's
wanted.
scheduled.
Good. Okay, so that is coming.
Janet, I just want to point something out.
What does it say?
It used to be the Greater Harvey Historical.
Oh,
Society. It is
Trent
now the
Lakes.
Trent
I
Lakes
love it.
Historical
Thank
Society.
you,
There's something
thank
will
you.
all be changed.
Because I just think we're all Trent Lakes, right? Like, and I just think it would bring us all together the more that we do use that. I would like to see a guest internet in this building. I know people do come out of country. I know there's one at the library, there's one in Bob Cajun, but sometimes I come to council meetings and instead of doing paper, I want to look up something and I can't myself, it won't work in here. So, and during the ice storm, a lot of people didn't have internet. So if it could have been here, I don't know how fast it came up here, but people could have come here. So I would really like to see a guest internet. I don't know if it would be that much
I
more
think we had that
expensive or not.
at the fire hall during the ice storm.
Oh,
You could
okay.
Go to the fire hall, I think it was advertised a little
To
bit.
charge and stuff. Yeah.
Charge and use their.
Right. But it happened all the time. I don't know if to put an extra line, if that would be a problem or not.
Something to bring up.
And the last thing was, and I know this may sound mean, I hope there's no one here that owns property from out of the country, but I know people that own property in the US and they pay a lot more taxes. So I don't know if that's something we could look at here for foreign ownership of property in Trent Lakes. Sorry if anyone's here from, but I know it happens when we go to other places. So I don't know if it's something, I don't even know how much more. I remember I asked the CEO and they said they had no idea who owned property, but I think they would know from residential addresses. But I mean, it's tit for tat. I know that, I just know people pay a lot of taxes who own property in the States. And I'm not even saying the States, anywhere. Might be something to use our services to look at property taxes. So I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shannon. Thanks for bringing those points to our attention. Is there any, just before we move along, is there anyone else online? Is Christine? We'll try Christine again. Hello, Christine. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay. Did we get
There we
success?
go.
Okay.
You'll have to try to speak up. You're a little quiet.
Okay, I'll try to be louder. Is that good?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
You have 5 minutes. Go right ahead.
Okay, here I go. I would like to get an update on where we're at with the East Clear Bay Road, the resurfacing. I do recall that there was a very brief couple of days in the fall time where they did have a, I assume it was a counter strip that was at the corner there at East Clear Bay Road, but it was only there for a couple of days and it wasn't there during like a weekend high traffic time period. And I just wondered if we could get an update on the status of that.
Okay, we will get that to you for sure.
Okay, because as you know, it's I'm probably at 15 to 20 years of asking for this for East Clear Bay Road, and the main reasons is because it's really quite unsafe. The potholes, the corners in the spring, it's just like literally unbelievable. And realize you would likely get a lot of complaints from the people that are permanent residents, which are a lot on East Clear Bay Road. So that's why we're seeking it to be upgraded.
I know that is in the plan, but I'm not sure exactly the date that that's in the plan.
Okay, thank you, Terry.
We'll find out.
The other one is there's also quite a few branches and trees, as you know, from the ice storm. The poplars and the birch trees were the ones, and cedar that suffered the most. And there's still quite a few overhanging along Galway Road and Clear Bay Road into East Clear Bay Road that they're like really bent over. They're probably similar in other areas of the municipality. So I was wondering if we could get an update of whether the roads department will be at some point going through and either doing it themselves or perhaps hired it out to have them removed, because any storm that comes along, which it's likely inevitable, they'll probably just come crashing down. And the other item is there are some people along Galway Road that I think they assume that there'll be roadside pickup of branches. So they've stacked their branches in nice little piles along the roadside, but I haven't heard of any possibility that the roads department will be picking those up. And to add on to that is that people have been just pushing for lack of, perhaps it's not convenient or the Galway transfer site was already closed, but people are just pushing their large piles of debris into ditches, which, you know, obviously is unsightly. So I just wondered if I could get an update on that, on all of that.
Well, I think the roadside brush clearing is if it was a Trent Lakes tree, we clean it up. If you hauled all your brush out to the road, that, I don't think they're cleaning that up, but I know they did a lot because they were going by anyway, but now they're not likely coming back to redo it after you brought it out after they cleaned up. But we'll see what happens. We need to keep the ditches clean because, you know, water has to flow somewhere. We're liable to have another massive rainstorm because we had an ice storm. So we'll look at that and have a chat with our director of that department and see what we can do.
Thank you. One other question is around the organics for the Crystal Lake transfer site. Any update on when that might happen?
I'm hoping sooner rather than later. I think we've approved that in our budget. So let's hope that we can get that started because we have an opportunity there to take some of that stuff to Peterborough. Deputy Armstrong.
Yeah, I think, Christine, we've approved putting in, I'm now told they're not mollets, but whatever the organic units are. There's been, it currently exists in Buckhorn. Sorry, if we could just have one conversation. We currently have them in Buckhorn. We've approved a budget to put them in Bob Cajun, which is our largest and busiest transfer station. And that will be followed, but not this year, by Cavendish and Galway. So each year we'll have to look at the budget to see if that's viable.
And then something is very important, like the most recent audit that the county did, 39% of our garbage is or separated organics, so we could be not putting that in the garbage and having it, you know, recycled somehow, turned into topsoil or used for better reasons. Anything else, Christine?
Just one. I heard a reference to town hall meetings, and I did look on the events calendar, and I didn't see any that were mentioned on there that are on the calendar for 2025. Did I miss something?
No, you didn't. I think the ones that we did before was mostly Deputy Mayor Armstrong and myself, and we both have a very busy summer ahead. So maybe we decided not to do them at this time. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yeah, thank you. I think you'll see, Christine, that there are lots of many more appearances, participation by members of council within association meetings. I know there have been a couple of chats at the library. So there are many more activities than we ever have had before. And I think the feeling was that because we're out in the community and being available and making and scheduling those for to come, that we didn't need separate town hall meetings this year.
And looking forward, we might do that again. It's just it was a busy summer for most of us.
Okay, understandable. I thought maybe I just missed them because I thought in 2024 they were actually posted on the calendar. the Trent Lakes calendar, but I didn't see any for this year.
And I believe Councilor Cadigan had a couple of those little impromptu meetings at Cavendish Community Center. And had some good conversations, so they're well received, those meetings, and just we were kind of busy and swamped, so those are not
Gotcha.
happening in 2025.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Christine. We'll talk to you later. Please come to the X, and thank you.
Good morning. My name is Peter Thatchuk. I live on Betsy South. Well, first of all, I have to thank you for having such an informal forum. And usually if I was appearing before a forum, I would know the answers to the questions before I ask them. I honestly don't know. I don't have an agenda. I just really want answers. 3 things. 1, my wife and I bought a food recycler a number of years ago when it was through the township here, or sorry, through Trent Lakes, and love it. Love a bigger one. Don't know if you're going to have another program like that, but I think it's a great idea. That's number 1. Number 2, short-term rental. The list, and I understand some are registered, some are unregistered, and it seems the more we get into the electronic age, transparency and rules regarding privacy seem to intersect and collide. So the question I have, I used to find it easier to get information years ago than I do now. Is that list intended to be open to the public, or is it going to be less transparent and we won't know who's registered and who's unregistered? What is it currently? And the last point I have is, now I'm not 100% clear on this, but my recollection is in the city of Toronto, the hoteliers put up a great big fuss because of the competition from short-term rental. And in order to even the playing field for resorts and others, is there an interest, an intent, an understanding, an idea that perhaps an additional municipal type tax could be levied against the short-term rentals?
Okay.
Anyway, I'm here to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to sit down.
Anybody have any questions? Those are really good points, and we did look at the municipal accommodation tax a while ago. Go ahead.
First of all, there is a larger food cycler. I'm assuming you did the first batch when we were, and I don't remember if that's 1 liter, there's a 1.5 liter or something, but there is a larger one available
through
the municipality.
Yeah, okay.
So put your input in and yes, you can get that. Publicizing the STRs, some municipalities do that. We decided not to, at least for this year, partly, because again, you're right, some are, some aren't. But they do have to, if they are registered, they do have to put a registration number on their advertisement. So that should be there. So no, there are currently no plans to do that. We will look at it as we move further in the future, particularly as we move to a mandatory. But for right now, no. And you're right, it is challenged and it is still not clear whether that's something that can be done and how much information can in fact be published, like names of the owners, location, et cetera, et cetera. So murky at the moment from a legal perspective. A MAT tax, municipal accommodation tax, we chose not to do that this year. We may look at it in the future, but again, until you have a mandatory program, you really can't do a municipal accommodation tax. So first year, short-term rental registration, we went light. We did sort of minimal compliance, et cetera, and we will then relook and see whether that's an appropriate next step.
Okay, and thank you. I appreciate you addressing the questions. Wish you had maybe 1 more of these forums a year, but I'll leave it with you. And I guess the only comment is it's a paper tiger not to have a transparent list because we don't know whether we're dealing with ones. I have a couple around me, no problem so far, but whether they're registered or not seems to be, and I realize you probably have to have an incentive. You probably don't have a regulation or the legislation from the province that allows you to make it transparent. But I urge you that I think it's probably wasted effort if it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Greatly appreciated.
I just want to say there's no more recyclers.
There's no more?
No, there's no.
Because there was some in the back.
No, the signage
The
upstairs,
program is done.
there's none available at the moment.
Oh, sorry.
No, I just want, yeah.
Well, thank you.
I'm hoping it'll start then.
Can there be somebody looking at maybe redoing it?
Yeah, and we'll do that.
Yeah.
And much bigger.
And a bigger one, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Bigger is not always better, but I think in those,
Or the county.
they're quite small. Well, I think the county's decided not to do much more of that because we're really struggling with the full transition of waste management in Ontario. So let's hope we can get that smoothed out, figured out, move on.
Here because of the animals. Oh, sorry, I'm not on the.
Yeah, it's okay. You had your 4 minutes. and 34 seconds. Thank you.
Just a comment about the county, there's several municipalities within Peterborough County that are making the food cyclers available.
I think we were one of the first and we
Yeah.
did it 2 or 3 rounds, most places do it once. And I think that's a great idea that rather than throw it in the garbage and have to deal with it in the waste transfer site and then deal with it at some other location. It goes into garbage and fills up our Bensford Road site. It's only got 8 or 10 years left in it and it takes 8 or 10 years to find a new site. So let's try to prolong its life as long as we can by diverting as much as we possibly can. Okay, who's next who'd like to speak? Okay, Steve, please. Oh, yeah. You'll be next. No, go ahead. No, you go ahead. Come on. You jumped up and started running, so we had to.
This is just a follow-up for Christine's
Yes.
comment about East Clear Bay Road. There is a West Clear Bay Road
Yes, there is. Yeah.
in just as much need as East Clear Bay.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering how we will attack that, if it is being considered for East Clear Bay Road.
It's in our management plan. I don't know where West Pier Bay Road fits in there. I'd have to look that up, but we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
how you
What-
assess
Yeah.
which one gets it
Yeah.
and which one.
Yeah, well, that's right in that plan, so
And
it's about
I
traffic.
guess as a history to it, we did have both those roads done kind of top to bottom about 4 years ago, where they brought in big loads of gravel.
gravel and stuff, yeah. I think what.
So anyway, it lasted the following year. Then we're back to potholes.
Yeah.
Again.
And I think that's what East Clear Bay is talking about, service street of some kind, so it
Well,
lasted
yeah,
quite a few years.
exactly, because
We'll
it
look at
does come to the marina.
Yeah.
And you have the
Yeah.
2 roads that go. So it's just, I don't understand the logic of bringing the grader in. And it's few and far between. Sometimes they do East Clear Bay and then they don't. Goes all the way back out again. Maybe in a
Yeah.
couple of weeks. Might be back in again. Just not sure the logic
Yeah.
of how
Yeah.
the money is being
Yeah. Might
well
have to-
spent. And as far as Galway Road, that's all, and Clear Bay up until the marina, that blacktop, it lasts
Oh, yeah.
and lasted a long time. So I think it would be cost effective down the road. Anyway, and the other thing is we have a great historical society run by very dedicated people. And I know, my husband has asked many a time for the historical signs
Yeah. So we're
to be
working,
considered.
that
Going
is
in,
in the mix.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm hoping to have a few of them up this year, so.
okay,
Yeah.
good, thank you.
More every once in a while.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, who would like to go next? I think it's,
Well, may I have some time to address some of the comments that this gentleman made, George?
okay, if you would like to come to the X, please, if you're going to.
But this is.
Okay, if you come to the X, you have 5 minutes.
Response.
Well,
this.
Well, you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
One way or another, you have 5 minutes. If you'd like to bring everything you want up in 5 minutes, go right
No, I
ahead.
don't. I really don't. I just want to share some things that I have learned about our system of democracy. I'm constantly getting emails from people saying, sign this petition about Bill C5, Bill X. I know that I look around this room and we all remember Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi. You don't know what you had till it's gone. I don't know how many people are aware of this, but in 2019, the first thing that this current, and this is not about partisan politics, this is about this provincial government right now. But the first thing they did under their Red Tape Reduction Act, which I now refer to as Red Tape Removal Act, is they closed down the independent watchdog office of the Commissioner of the Environment. Are most people aware of that? Okay, so what I have found is that the Commissioner of the Environment, there's a thing called access to justice. It's a right, it's a charter-bound right. And the one thing that Diane Sachs had done as the Commissioner of the Environment was modernize the Ontario Municipal Board that was about 100 years old. And she made sure that she had an active access to justice practice. You could pick up the phone, and I would not know about the problem with short-term rentals. I would not know about Duty Mountain if it weren't for the property beside us changing hands 4.5 years ago. But aggregate, we talked about the moratorium that the Auditor General had recommended to the province to enact a moratorium. The Ontario Land Tribunal, the Ontario Municipal Board, there's no point in petitioning this government to try to get them to put back what they have taken away. They have stripped down everything, and I'll gladly go. I've got lots of notes on this I'll share with anybody, but when we had Diane Sachs, you could pick up the phone and basically she had a small team of about 5 lawyers, and if anybody is not aware, she is a world-renowned environmental lawyer. And basically, it was a hotline. You'd pick up the phone and say, this is happening. For the most part, they would take it from there. People didn't have to spend legal money on lawyers to fight a problem that they solved like that. So this is a federal matter. This is a federal matter because we do have a constitution that says nobody shall be deprived of their rights to, deprived of their rights. Access to justice is a legal term, and we don't have it anymore. And any focus trying to petition this provincial government is wasted. And it's good people trying to do the right things, fighting the wrong battles. We need to get, and we've now got a new MP, we collectively need to get with that MP and all of the other municipalities within our new riding, which I'm not quite sure, but Haliburton have got huge problems. And it's a question of going back. There's a supremacy clause that says that the federal government and the Environmental and Climate Change Canada have supremacy over the province. We need to get people to recognize, again, what we don't know, I didn't know that we had an access to justice until I tried to use it. The Environmental Bill of Rights, the Commissioner of the Environment was responsible for protecting the Environmental Bill of Rights. I have, and I will share it with anybody, I have a letter from May 31st of 2023 from the branch manager of the MECP in Peterborough that says in black and white, there are no species at risk in this area. And I tried to go, and that started with me trying to go through the EBR process that we used to have a commissioner. That commissioner is now rolled into, it was a watchdog. Now it's a lapdog within the Attorney General's office as a Deputy Attorney General. We need to get that back. And we need, I will gladly speak to anybody who wants to, come up with your environmental committee. That would be a great start. Yes, so I wanted to share that. I do want to get back and talk about the other matters, but I'm going to get Catherine to go first.
You have your 5 minutes.
Okay.
Just one thing, I do like your t-shirt. And it is always worth trying to deal with our provincial government because they've rescinded some decisions they made. They know they're not perfect, and I think we still have opportunities to address
We've been so spoiled in Canada with, we've taken democracy for granted, and it's, as this gentleman said, it is just going down the toilet. So anyway, thank you for that.
We'll talk to you soon. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak? You'll be second. Ted, go in front of the very back. Got your hand up first.
I'm wondering if you like my
And you
t-shirt.
have 5 minutes.
Truth worker. So, I have a couple of questions. They're related to the same topic. And it's, one woman back there spoke about connection in this community. So, I would like to know what is this council's best practice or policy related to answering questions that are posed in public forums? I would like to, first part of that question is I'd like to know what that is. What is your policy or best practice?
We normally will refer to staff that are responsible for that actual section because we don't have all the answers and they usually have all the information that we need to, that we can get back to. Think good.
I'd also say, Catherine, during regular council meetings, we have a procedural bylaw that sort of dictates what communication flow is. And during a public meeting, there really is no question and answer back and forth. It's really information presentation. But the procedure bylaw dictates what those are during regular council meetings. During something like this, it's a little looser. And I think
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So if I understand what you just said, that means that these forums in which we ask questions and are requiring answers, there really is no protocol for. Is that what I just heard you say? Only if we ask in a regular council meeting, there's a bylaw process for responding to those? Did I hear that correctly?
If you ask a question in this forum, we will refer that question to our staff and get a question. If you leave your information, we'll get an answer back to you if we can. There's certain circumstances where we can't answer every question.
I understand, Mayor Lamb's-Head, but I'm asking for clarification if I heard your answer correctly. That there's only a bylaw for responding to questions if they're asked in a regular council meeting. Did I hear that correctly?
Procedural bylaw covers regular and special council. So this is a unique situation. And, we try to make it more informal to the extent we can. If we can answer a question, we will, and I think we have. And if we can't, and we want to get to the correct answer and not misspeak, then we will refer to staff to get back to you.
Okay, I'm still not hearing clarification on the question. I'm going to move on. So in the spirit of connection and all being part of this municipality, it would be helpful if we all understood the answer. What's happening on other roads don't affect me. What's happening on my road doesn't affect anybody else either, and I think it should. We are all part of the same municipality, and I think the questions raised today and the issues brought, whatever forum, a public meeting about short-term rentals, your regular council meetings, these open forums, these questions from my fellow residents are important. And I think we should all take responsibility for knowing what the outstanding issues are. And so I would like to have answers. I would like the answers to be made publicly.
Okay.
We don't just ask them just to have our air in the wind. We ask because we have specific concerns. And if we don't have them addressed in a public forum, how are we ever supposed to know and support each other? How is that going to happen? This is not an us and them.
That's why we're here today.
But the questions don't get answered in a public forum. Please hear this specifically. And I have questions from the short-term rental public consultations, June 27th last year.
that were on record and requested to be answered on record. I have had zero response from this council or staff. Nothing has been presented to the record or to me personally. And I'm going to repeat the questions here, and I would like them responded to on the record. I even said last year, the medium for on the record and response is up to you. I'm not going to dictate your communication policies, but I requested answers to my questions on the record. And I think every other resident that asks a question deserves an on the record response in the spirit of open and transparent governance, which you all profess to have. I've spoken to several of you individually, and there is no open or transparent government in my experience. I would like to see the answers on the record. Here they go. My first observation of the short-term rental public consultation was that in nowhere in the publicly made available information prior to these consultations or in the presentation at the public consultation, was there any discussion about change of use of a property? A short-term rental changes the use of a property from residential or cottage, whatever that status is, to commercial. I raised this. I asked for on the record. I would like to know any discussion that happened at the planning, what do you call it, the working group, which I believe are you chairing? Deputy Mayor,
yes. You
were chairing that. So I asked for clarification if that topic ever arose, what happened to that discussion, and on whose authority was it to continue having the discussion about short-term rentals without having a conversation about change of use if it didn't happen, because I saw no public information about it. Wasn't in your presentation. I still have not received answers to that question that I believe we all have a right to understand. It changes the use of a property. What precedent are you setting if you continue to allow change of use to properties in existing bylaws by just sweeping them away by new adding bylaws? I would like that question addressed.
Your 5 minutes is up here, so sum up if you can.
Yeah, the next thing that I asked for was, just quickly a sec. I also asked why this change of use legislation that clearly exists, we have a process. There's lots of legislation. It's in the Municipal Act on how to deal with change of use that isn't gone through the process. And I also asked for a response to why the existing 550 short-term rentals at the time did not go through a change of use process, and that this was not addressed. The third part of that question is, and I'm not sure if the residents of Trent Lakes understands, that those public meetings that you hosted for us to provide our feedback were about a licensing program. It's a very slick presentation about all your research about a licensing program. Well, yes, we'll take all of your feedback into consideration, not one peep from this council at all until the new bylaw for a registration program was launched. Was this on purpose? Did we have a discussion about the licensing program and then you just switched it to registration without public comment, without addressing feedback again? I would like on the record this to be addressed, how it went from public consultation of a licensing program to an automatic bylaw pass for registration program. I would like that addressed. I'd like to understand how that happened. I'd like to understand the difference between a registration and a licensing program, and I believe the residents of this municipality deserve to have those answers.
Okay.
These are not my comments, so please don't say thank you for your comments.
No, I didn't say that.
No, but you did last year. So thank you. These are not comments, these are questions.
We will get answers to your questions. Go ahead,
Thank
Deputy
you.
Mayor.
Yeah, thanks very much. I would just say that if you read the staff report that accompanied the final recommendation for registration process, it addresses all of this. It talks about zoning, change of use. It talks about why registration versus licensing. So I think it was March of this year that came forward. I read it. If it doesn't address your questions, then come back to us.
Can you tell me how it addresses my questions? Because these are siloed things. These are discussions for residents. I don't think this should be a personal conversation that I go and do some research. I'm asking you.
I'm sorry, the staff report is public.
Yes,
It's published with the agenda.
I understand that. So if you're aware of what's in it, can you just
finish? It's the rationale and the basis for which council, the recommendation from the working group to council was for a registration program. I believe it addresses your questions. It is public. If it doesn't, then I'll give you the opportunity to come back to us.
And how might I come back to you on that?
Send an
Email us,
email.
send a note to the clerk that actually send the questions that you have. After you've read that, if it doesn't clarify them, send more questions to our clerks and then we'll get on an agenda for council to discuss.
And we do have
That's how we do that.
an
That's-
FAQ section on our short-term rental page, which is all the history, all the reports.
Yeah.
If it's an FAQ that is of general interest, we'll put it on the FAQ.
So are any of you aware, thank you for that answer. Are any of you aware if change of use is actually factored into this new bylaw? Do you require properties to go through change of use from residential to commercial and rezoning appropriately?
Thank you, through Mayor. We did address that specifically because I know me personally, I had many questions from constituents that dealing with that specific topic of change of use. We were interested in it. We wanted to pursue that. Maybe that's a possibility. So we went through our legal to find out, is that doable basically? Can we do that? Can we force them or require them to have a change of use? And from the advice from legal that it wasn't able to, they weren't able to come up with a solution as to the change of use. And I think that Impact has some information on that as well as far as change of use. But in short, it was explained to us that that wasn't a viable option.
And is that why it's not a viable option? Is that publicly available? That would be really helpful to know. And what is that information and can it be pushed back? I imagine that if any one of you right here, right now, bought a beautiful rural property and then a short-term rental opens up next door and has all kinds of problems, that I believe you individually would have a different perspective of change of use.
I have three monster ones beside me, and it's all corporate owned. So I, for one, being a taxpayer myself, I would welcome a change of use. So I have an invested interest in that too, and we did pursue that, and we were advised by our council that, and we can find out the points, the actual points that council brought to us, our legal counsel.
Thank you. So who will get back to me about that legal counsel?
If you wouldn't mind reading the document first, and if your questions aren't answered, get back to us, email the clerk, and then we'll make sure that you get the answers that you're looking for. I mean, this is what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to hide it. We're trying to help and get it into the public eye. That's what we do. I'm sorry.
So I respectfully request that you give me some sense of understanding that I'm asking for a public redress to the questions, not just siloed specific questions.
Okay. Well,
has that been received?
Just to jump in, I know what you're saying about public address, whatnot. We operate in silos. A lot of what we do, a lot of what I do is silo. A constituent comes to me, or 5 of them come to me with an issue.
And you solve that problem.
I meet with them.
Yeah.
You're asking, okay, I've met with these 5. Do I blast that out through the municipal?
I'm talking about public forums like this, council meetings, like public. I'm not talking about who comes to you individually. I have been one of those who've come to you individually.
Yeah. So how would you suggest, like, if you were sitting in our shoes here?
Well, we're having a physical meeting, just like a council meeting is a physical meeting.
Yeah.
So I think minutes should be provided. I think questions should be written and recorded on the record. And then the answers provided in whatever form. I don't know your communication platforms, but I think the questions should be acknowledged on the record, what questions have been asked in this open and transparent government, and that answers would be forthwith, not just the person. I don't know how you would, what platform, perhaps on a bulletin, I don't know what your communication.
Well, I'm interested because you're passionate about it. I'm passionate about it. So if you have some ideas that we could utilize to address your concern.
Well, I'd be happy to. Communications is part of my profession. So if you tell me.
We've exhausted a few minutes here.
If you tell me who I can communicate with that might help you build some infrastructure to communicate these answers back, I'd be happy to offer my expertise.
We have a whole staff, so.
So how am I going to move that forward then?
Well, we do have Rachel Stark. Yeah, that's our communications officer. If you talk to Rachel, she's very,
Well, she comes to us.
no, yeah, it'll have to come to us to get answers, but.
So
let's
my
do
last thing on this, I would like to have acknowledged, is this something that the council sees as an opportunity to create cohesion in this municipality? Is this something, or am I just speaking words into air?
Oh, I think that we do. I think, the more people that know about what's going on, it's better. I think it's, that's about being transparent. If more people know what's going on in our municipality, like, every person has a comment that may not be relevant to you, but maybe you'd like to hear the answer. So let's try to get the answer out there. Okay.
I'll take that as agreement, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Would you speak?
Oh, you leave.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's not talking.
I know he's not.
My name is Jesse Hardy. I'm a resident on Bass Lake. Want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for the opportunity. For the previous lady's comments, I think, I believe this is being recorded. It's on whatever. So I think it's pretty easy from your perspective to review the recording, understand all the questions, list them out on like a summary of what happened, and an answer to all those questions. I think that's a pretty good start to address the concerns we heard here. That came out of just sitting here. The reason for my appearance today, again, I'm going to echo some of the sentiments of my neighbors here in that the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance, the year-round maintenance of Bass Lake Road, we've, previous to, I think, 2023, that was Fire Route 407. And I think in 2023, the municipality upgraded that to like a full municipal road, Bass Lake Road, all the way to the end. It is my understanding, but there were some news bulletins on the website that I can no longer find. And so with that, with that assumption of it being upgraded to municipal road, I believe the requirement to maintain that as a municipal road comes along with that. And I've looked on the website, it says all the roads are maintained within provincial regulations. I've read into the provincial regulations. I think we heard it's about traffic and things of that nature. Because it is all one road now, it's the traffic of the road. It's not the traffic of the segment of the road. And so I believe the traffic on Bass Lake Road with the roughly 200 residences on the road or that use that road plus the recreational traffic would meet the metric of the provincial regulations for the classification for annual maintenance. And so again, we discussed this at our cottage association, and we're happy to send a letter. I'd like to understand, is my understanding more or less correct on should this measurement be accurate, then this would have to be maintained by provincial regulation. And outside of that letter, what is the process that we should be following to ensure that this is addressed?
I'm not sure the process is. I think you've already started that by coming to here and talking to us and asking us questions. So we're going to refer this idea to our director of public works, and I'm sure he has some information on that road. We do have a few other roads that are no winter maintenance on, but I don't know if they're brought up to municipal standards, and that's why there is no winter maintenance. It's not wide enough. They're not. The hills are too much inclined. There's many things.
Yeah, previous comments were, it's a fire road, and we don't maintain fire roads as a general practice, which I can appreciate. And I live on an offshoot fire road of Bass Lake Road, and I have no expectation of maintenance. But with this no longer being classified as a fire road, being classified as a municipal road, that's now under your purview or responsibility is my perspective. And then, whether it's too hilly or not wide enough, it's a municipal road, then
the onus is on the municipality to make those road improvements, I think is the important message there. And then, coming back to, again, what the lady had mentioned, and the general feedback is a lot of, we will speak to staff, or we will get back to you on this question. Hasn't been a lot of direction on signing up with the clerk to make sure you get those answers. Like how we get the answer hasn't been very clear throughout this meeting process. So that's a general concern, I think.
Yeah.
We probably all share to say, like, we'll get the answer, but if we don't know how we're gonna get the answer, that's not helpful.
Certainly give your contact information to the clerk and we will make sure that someone gets that answer to you. And that's for everybody in this room. If you have a question and get it to the clerk, and Jesse or Bianca will get that to us and we'll get an answer. I think we have all your questions wrote down one way or another and recorded. So.
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor.
Yeah. Okay.
Jesse, as I say, and I'll maintain any issues, like if I'm which I am your counselor.
Super, great to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Feel free to, those exact questions that you have, you send those to me. And if it's all to do with roads, I always CC our roads supervisor. And he's been very good at getting back. And I will see his feedback as to your questions. And if it seems like, it may not be accurate and you have further questions, then we maintain that dialogue until you're satisfied with the answer and that sort of thing. So I know it's hard not to operate in silos, but
No, I appreciate, like, we all have a concern on the process of the road, but like each constituent's specific road question, I think, is a more personal thing, right? So that I completely appreciate the silo thing. But as she said, like, we've heard probably 50 questions today. Let's get them all listed out. Let's get those answers on that list and publish that on the website. I think it's pretty easy. And then I think going back, sorry, with my time expired, just subject meetings and stuff like that, like, I don't know where to find a meeting from a year ago. Like, I can see like 3 months worth of meetings, I feel like, but they seem to expire, right? So I was at a town council meeting a couple of years ago now, like a formal meeting, and got some paperwork related to it, and I was like, that's not exactly what I recall happening. But now I can't find like the recording of what happened anymore.
You can find it online. I go through it every week, and I'm always backdating it to 2023. So you can find it. Just put in the research. Or
like I said, I couldn't find it. User error.
That's right.
Well, thank you for that.
So it's not easy to navigate.
Yeah, I know. That's for sure. Okay, come on up to the X and have your chance.
I'm Ted Spence. I'm a cottager on Catchacoma Lake. I just wanted to make an observation that what's good for the county isn't always good for Trent Lakes. And I think it's a really important distinction because there are 8 municipalities in the county of Peterborough, 2 of which are on the Canadian Shield north of the Kawartha Lakes, and 2 of which we are very much oriented to our environment, to our seasonal activities, and our different kind of land use. The 6 municipalities south of us are very different. They tend to be agricultural and to some extent urbanizing, and they have different issues. And this sometimes requires us to, I think differently. The most recent example, of course, is the additional residential unit question, which is coming to council again on Tuesday. The observation I would make is that the 2 counties to our north, Halliburton and Muskoka, have both taken the shoreline residential category out of the automatic approvals for additional residential units. Here, you have considered whether or not to take it out, and you decided not to, but I hope you'll continue to consider that, because we're very different. We're much more like those counties to our north, which have a different kind of environment and different kind of values on their land use. By not giving automatic approval to additional residential units on shoreline properties doesn't mean if you have a good case, you can't come forward using the planning process and the minor variance process and so on to get approval. But it's not automatic. And I think as we've seen with the discussion here today about the short-term rental stuff, it's every case is different. And sometimes you just have to accept that you're going to look at that. But I do observe that we're often in a different situation than the 6 municipalities to our south. We have lots in common with North Kawartha, which is immediately to our east. But it's just interesting to watch how this happens. And I don't think we should be afraid to sometimes dissent from what's happening at the county level or in those municipalities to the south. But I must say, I appreciate it when the county takes over and fixes my road, which is a county road. Anyway, thank you.
Lots of conversations with Mayor Mania, the mayor of North Kawartha.
Yeah.
We talk pretty much weekly about that exact thing.
Yes.
We do not match what the rest of the county does
No.
because we are completely different geographically. Our
Yes.
aquifers are different. We,
That's
you know,
right.
we don't have a lot of farming community. We have a lot of, vacant land. We have ridges and swamps and puddles and ponds and lakes and streams.
Yeah.
And to the south of us, they don't have that. So it's not a one size fits all. And I think Deputy Mayor Armstrong and myself do bring that up a bit at county
I'm
council.
sure you do.
To make sure that we're looked after. Like we speak out for Trent Lakes.
Well, the other observation, of course, is that because we don't have conservation authorities, we have less coverage in a number of areas than the 6 municipalities of the south, which do have conservation authorities. There are lots of reasons why we don't have conservation authorities.
It's a good thing we don't have them.
Well, maybe it's a good thing. In some areas, that's probably true.
See
But
what these conservation
One
authorities do and
one
where's
conversation
the
at a time, please. He's got his 5 minutes here.
Yes. Well, we don't all have to have the same view of conservation authorities. Anyway, but it is an example of where we don't have the base study documentation that they have further south where they have the conservation authorities. And now they're doing a watershed plan for the whole of the county. And I worry that there's going to be a blank up here because they don't have the information that they're going to automatically get further south. But that's a different topic entirely. Anyway.
I think.
I just wanted to make one comment. We do have conservation authority, but it only covers a small
Nobody's Creek.
portion.
Yes, I know. Yes.
And Crystal Lake, Nobody's Creek.
Yeah, up to Crystal Lake. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
true. We have that.
Yeah.
And the same is true over in North Kawartha. They have the Crow Valley on their east edge, but it means it's a big hole where it's not.
Yeah.
Through your mayor, Kathy, go ahead.
Ted, we're on the Upper Trent Management System.
Yes.
Is there any talk about them forming a conservation authority?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. The one thing about that body is that it brings us together with the 4 municipalities in Halliburton, which under some headings, we have a lot in common. Not entirely, but in some areas for sure.
We are unique.
We are unique and we need to recognize that. But we're also, I think, less well endowed than those 6 municipalities to the south that have a different tax base than we have. I appreciate that. I know what you're dealing with.
Thank you very much, Ted. Thank you for your comments. Okay, would anyone else like to speak? I think you've had your 5, we just wait for, yeah. Okay, I know, that's fine. If everybody else speaks, then we can, you have a question because you spoke too already, right? So once everyone else has spoke that has their 5 minutes, go ahead, Jesse.
I have someone online, Bernard Martin.
Okay, we'll do one more online and Bernard, was it? Hello, Bernard, can you unmute yourself?
I'm trying.
Okay.
Okay.
If I have your name incorrect, I apologize.
Hello. I'm sorry, we're here. We came a little bit late, so hoping our issue has not been touched on. Just want to compliment the people who have spoken. So many important issues were raised, and I think the woman who spoke toward having feedback was especially concerning for me, and I think it's true over the years. Getting feedback has been a bit of an issue. Today we wanted to talk about specifically the shoulders of the road on Crystal Lake Road. And aside from the bees and the butterflies and the wildflower beauty, for years now we've had the wildflowers just sliced down at the side of the road. And I don't understand why we go to that expense when we're clipping that. The other problem there is that when they clip that, it makes it look like there's a shoulder on the side of Crystal Lake Road. Could be very confusing for somebody driving, thinking they could pull over on a shoulder. There's no shoulder. And so it could be a bit of a danger. But I think we have to start, as the last gentleman said, we have to keep in mind that we are a very wild area and really embrace that area.
Okay. I think that dog concurs.
I can't hear you. I can't hear that.
At least he agrees.
Okay, any other comments?
No, I didn't hear the comment.
No, we really
Sorry,
haven't.
I'm not.
I mean, I think the cutting of the brush on the side, or the grass on the side of the road, is an important thing for safety. It's all about visibility. We want to see somebody coming around a corner, so I don't see that changing in the near future. I mean, it's a.
And again, I keep hearing that about safety. I don't understand the safety because we're creating a safety issue by cutting down the wildflowers.
But there are no shoulders there, so it looks like there's 4 or 5 feet of shoulder. When the grass is cut, it's nice and even. It looks like a shoulder. It's not a shoulder. It's a ditch. And the only thing that's flat is the top of the grounds. So I'm not concerned that the safety issue is being addressed. We lament the loss of the wildflowers that we used to get, the daisies and the one-eyed Susans
Buttercups.
and the buttercups and everything else that we used to drive by on that road. Now it looks like grass. It looks like 3 or 4 feet of grass shoulder on that road, and that's not the case. And as a matter of fact, we have seen a couple of people that have gone in the ditch, not drastically, but tipped over and needing a tow truck to get them out because they thought there was a shoulder there. So it's just a question, is it really useful to cut the miles of road along Crystal Lake Road or not? That's all.
All right, well, thank you. We'll ask Kevin Drieger, our Director of Public Works, to consider maybe not cutting out 4 or 5 feet and taking a little less of a swath. There is an idea there. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you make sure that our clerk has your contact information so that we can get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go. Lady behind you. We've already talked. We're going to make sure we get to everybody first.
Just had a comment.
Just a quick comment, Minnie Vandervelden for Ketchum Cottagers Association. And we just wanted to recognize the current communications that you do. We think are excellent. It's really made a huge difference for us. Your e-newsletter, your what's happening next week, your news updates. It demonstrates the breadth of the work that you do, but it also demonstrates the opportunities and the offerings for us as a taxpayer and as a cottager. And we just wanted to say we really appreciate it because we feel more part of the community. So thanks for your work.
Thank you very much. And I think a lot of that is this council, but also Rachel Stark, our communications officer, and staff here. They try to get as much information out as we possibly can. So thank you. Okay.
Thank you guys for this opportunity. Adrienne Eastman, Ledge Road. And the reason I'm here is not for a question, it's more of a comment and a suggestion. In my travels recently, up Ledge Road, there is 2 applications for severance. And as you know, Ledge Road at the end is a little bit unique. So the provincial policy statement says that no development should happen on an area of aggregate. So I know the county is responsible for the severances, but it comes through council with a bit of a grace from you guys, whether or not the application should be looked at. I just think there should be a suggestion to county before the application is even like put through and there's a sign put up on the road, letting these people know that development's not supposed to happen. I'd love to see some more houses go out there and see our tax base grow. But at the same time, I'd hate to see somebody go to all that work and then all of a sudden have to go through all these studies because the aggregate's there. So let them know it's an aggregate resource area. That's my comment.
Thank you for that. That's something we'll bring up with the county. Make sure when they do their pre-consultation that they ask that question, or at least advise people. Thank you. Hey, does anyone else have any comments or questions? Hasn't spoke before. Is there anyone online that would like to speak? No? Okay. Now we can go to the people that have spoken before. So please put up your hand if you'd like to speak. I think we have the gentleman in the back first. Yeah, sorry, but then you'll be next. You've had his hand up several times. So. Go ahead, you have 5 minutes.
Sorry, Steve Latimer. I didn't introduce myself earlier because it was a different matter, but anyway, Mayor Lamshead will recall, and Councillor Cadigan will recall, I spoke with both of them after the May 6th council meeting. And I categorically said to Mayor Lamshead that I'm not a lawyer. I've had to learn an awful lot more about civil and criminal law than any lay person would ever have to expect to have learned. But I also said, I ask direct, well-researched questions, and I expect the same in return. And I have embarrassed myself. I have embarrassed my wife, my family in front of the public because of, in my opinion, a false narrative that this entire council has been working under with regard to the subject lands that have just had two lots created on them using minor variances. So, and I sent an awful lot. I'm not here, I am here to try to help. I've uncovered problems that nobody would ever consider because of this false narrative. So I sent Mayor Lamshead in the public interest an awful lot of information that will cover a lot of these topics that we've discussed, that I would greatly appreciate half an hour of your time, not in this sort of setting. So, but if I will do this, before I get started, Nichols Cove Road, sorry, I got started. Nichols Cove Road, I've noticed that they recently painted, within the last year, they painted the road lines on County Road 36. I would strongly suggest that coming from Buckhorn, that they get rid of, I don't know, 200 meters of passing lane, because I've gone to make that turn and somebody's pulled out to pass by the intersection. So please, I'd like you to consider that for a safety concern. I'll get out there with yellow paint and brush if you let me.
Well, we'll bring that up with the engineer of the county.
Yeah, it is a safety concern. So we know that all members of council have been operating under what is effectively a gag order concerning the subject lands involved in zoning bylaw B2025-044. Since January 2022, every attempt that we've made to request enforcement or seek answers has been blocked with some version of, this matter is before legal, or we cannot comment because the issue is before the courts, or it's proceeding through the proper legal channels. We understand this firsthand. Karen and I are not just observers. There is a motion that there's been an application before the courts that has been blocking us from communication. And you can qualify that later. We have requested and been granted, as I pointed out to you, we have been granted intervener status. And that's not to prolong it, that's to get to some of the lies that I'll get to. And anyway, let me finish. We've been granted an intervener status before the Ontario Superior Court in this matter. We're actively working to expose the record and stop what we believe to be deliberate misrepresentations of zoning law and environmental risk. And we're doing so on behalf of all residents of the municipality of Trent Lakes, because this is bigger than us. And you mentioned that yourself, there's too much to read.
There's a lot to read.
Well, there is. There's 40 years of.
Thank you.
Let me just see. We're not here to assign personal blame. We're here to work towards reparation, not just for what's happened, but for the systems that allowed it to happen without scrutiny. The municipality is now hiring a new chief building official and director of planning. That decision must be grounded in the full public understanding of what's gone wrong during the previous CBO. And I doubt very many people realize that from 2021 to 2025, legal spending in other protective services grew 17.5 times, from $16,000 with the previous CBO in 2021 to $280,000 for 2025. These are all verifiable numbers. I will share them with anybody who wants to see them. And despite that, Trent Lakes did not engage in active enforcement until 2023, when AMPS was rolled out on a subset of laws that used to be proactively and reactively enforced under the Provincial Offences Act. Residents were told that violations are being monitored, but that outcomes are uncertain. In the meantime, illegal structures, illegal buildings, environmental risks, and unapproved land use spread without consequence. This is key. The mandatory duty to enforce bylaws under Section 440 of the Municipal Act was never publicly acknowledged. As the court stated in Gill Enterprises versus North Dumfries.
Okay, you gotta come to your, you have one more person who wants to talk after.
Okay,
Under this conclusion.
I'll try to get, the duty to protect residents requires that bylaws will be enforced. That duty was abandoned. The public needs to know that we are all on the hook for $35 million in damages, that all during the tenure of the last council. Short-term rentals, I've sent you stuff. This, I know, but this has been, again, we don't have time to discuss it, but the answer is in City of Kawartha Lakes. It's perfect, but we'll talk about that offline. Buffalo Bay, and again, most alarming is that there is in 2021 a 6,300 square foot industrial facility was built on land zoned for agriculture without permits. The CAO confirmed this in a 2022 email to MPAC. This operation is way beyond a home industry. This is a large scale commercial industrial operation. The amount of stock there alone proves it. And this same land was severed into residential lots under bylaw B2 2025-04 with no mention of the building, the industrial use, or the provincial emissions exemptions that had already been granted from municipal. The ministry and county deferred. As I said, I tried to get environmental bill of rights, and they said there are no species at risk, and don't bother with an environmental bill of rights study because it comes back to the MECP in Peterborough. This system is so broken. And
you gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, and I've got it right here in closing.
Okay.
Yes, so, and this is not blame. This is misinformation that I believe all of you have been following under John Ewart, and it's intentional. And when Catherine asked about Section 440 of the Municipal Act this past June, Deputy Mayor Armstrong approached her afterward and said, "You lost me at Section 440. It is the most powerful enforcement tool that the province provides, and it is mandatory under Geel Enterprises. There is not an option to say we're too busy. There's not an option to say we don't have the staff. Geel, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but I have looked this up 6 ways from Sunday, vetted it. It was an Ontario Supreme Court decision in March of 2022 about land use, improper land use, but it has become the de facto bylaw enforcement for all bylaws. You just can't say we're not going to enforce the bylaws. And again, I go back to, we spent $550,000 in taxpayers' money for not enforcing laws. So that's, I guess, my closing. That sums up where we are, but it doesn't have to be where we stay. This is a moment to begin repairing the damage to the public record, to community trust, and to our shared future. Let's move forward with transparency, legal integrity, and a new standard for enforcement that serves everyone, not just a few. Thank you. We're available to speak with anyone after the meeting.
Yeah, just a quick comment, Mr. Latimer. Just throughout the dealings and the meetings I had with yourself and your wife years ago when I was campaigning, and through up to today's point, I just want you to know, from me, I know how passionate, how much work yourself, your wife, and Ms. Mitchell have been putting into this and continue to put into it. And I'm happy, it's not that it's good for you, but I'm happy that you finally received intervener status, because that will now allow us to, because it's going through the judicial courts. Just let me finish my point.
Yep.
It's going through the judicial courts, and that's the forum where you want your issues to be dealt with.
Absolutely not, Councillor Bridge.
Okay, well,
but
this
again, we'll take that offline,
because, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
This is my thing. I'll finish my thought.
Yep.
But I just wanted to say, I appreciate it, and I know how much you've been living this and eating it, breathing it for the last four years. So I appreciate it.
And I appreciate that as well, but that's what I was talking about, the false narrative, and I would like to take that offline with you, because, okay.
But as I mentioned when we met,
yes.
Yeah. Me coming from a background. No, I'm just.
I know your background. That's why I voted for you.
No, all I'm saying is it's in the courts now. Hopefully they will.
No, but I'll go through that. I want to go through the documents that are before the courts on behalf of the residents of the municipality of Trent Lakes that are outright lies and omissions and dog whistles, and they are enabling the respondent corporation, who in or about May 2021, we've got court documents that said the municipality investigated the subject lands and found that they were being used illegally for commercial industrial purposes. I will say the false narrative that you've all, I guarantee it, just on some of the comments that I've heard, you have all been fed a false narrative that when this property changed hands in 2020, that it was an ongoing going concern, welding shop being operated out of a workshop or shop.
Sorry, I think we're getting into the details.
But that's why, again,
and it's a good topic, but not for now.
No.
And we have other speakers who want to speak.
Thank you very much.
But again,
move on.
We will read all the stuff you sent me. It's not.
No, and again,
tomorrow.
it's okay. Read it.
Yeah.
But my thing is, it's tough. Like, I need information.
Yeah, we're trying.
We've all waited patiently. There was another gentleman with their hand up, and it's, you can talk about 15 minutes.
I got it. Okay.
Okay, but I'm just saying, I need the 15 minutes outside of here with some of, Councillor Braybrick, truly, I would love to start with you, based on this.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, appreciate you coming to our, and you did have another comment.
Well, it says I had a comment from about people last online about the trimming of the grass alongside the road. Same thing happens on Anchor Bay Road because you use a straight sickle bar.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go down into the ditch. It goes across the top of the ditch. So it looks like there's a 4 foot, 5 foot wide shoulder. We don't have to invest in a sickle on the back of the tractor that cuts the grass in the township and go down. There's another safety concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah, it's not only their road, it's my road is most likely 3/4 of the road in this township.
A lot of our roads don't have ditches here, right, correct. Thank you.
They have ditches, but the grass is,
Yeah.
it's cut flat on top, it doesn't cut down and go.
Yeah, and I think the county roads are similar, they don't have as
It's
wide
not
a
a
ditch.
question, it's just a comment. Suggestion for future forums like this is to have microphones that people at the back can hear clearly. And the suggestion about a summary of the questions and the responses would be very welcome.
Yes, well, I think we've learned that. Thank you very much. I think we've learned that coming out of this is that we have to make sure we get a list of the questions that were asked and make sure you get a response.
And the owl, it's very difficult to hear back.
Is it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, we can, I'm not very technical, so we'll try to look at that. I rely on the two people in that back corner more than, they're not our IT, but they certainly do a very good job of this. And I wanted to make sure that Bianca and Jesse get thanked very much for being here today. It's a long day for everybody. It's a beautiful summer day. So we're actually at the end of this time unless someone else wants to speak for a couple of minutes. Okay. I think we are done. I thank everyone for coming and I thank everyone that came online and watched and listened. So let's continue to do this.